Good Friday morning. Another week has gone by, and here we are approaching the weekend. I hope that by now you have received the congregational letter. If you didn't, it's also attached to my morning email. Yesterday, when I sent out this letter, I did so with a prayer. When I sent it, I knew that some of you would receive this letter with some disappointment. Why can't we start worship this weekend? Some of you would receive this letter with another kind of disappointment. Is it too soon? Are you sure that it's not too soon to start worship this weekend? Some may be satisfied with our procedures, some may not be, some may be unsure. It's my prayer that we can all be patient with each other during this time. 33 years ago, in my senior year at seminary, I did not have a class that said how to reopen church during a time of a pandemic. This is new for all of us. So God calls us to be patient. Brothers and sisters, for a number of years I've been using the modified image of our Redeemer logo, beating with the Redeemer heart. Some of you might remember that this theme came out of our sermon series on the book of Romans, particularly when we looked at the second half of the book of Romans. We want to live our lives with the Redeemer heart. There are many passages that characterize the Redeemer heart. However, I'd like to focus on two passages. First of all, one of my favorite passages in the New Testament, Hebrews 10, which says, "Let us consider carefully how to spur each other on to love and good works. Let us not neglect meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing. Rather, let us encourage each other, and all the more as you see the day approaching." Having a Redeemer heart means we have a love for the Word and for the gathering of believers in worship around that Word. Notice the passage says to spur one another on and to encourage each other. God calls us into a family of believers. God never has called us to be an island Christian. He's never called us to run the race of faith alone. He's called us to run together. The second passage is Ephesians 4:32, another one of my passages that I have my confirmation class learned. Instead, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving one another, just as God, in Christ has forgiven us. Having the Redeemer heart means we have a love for others. We love others the way the Lord has loved us. So with these two truths in our hearts, that is, love for the Word and the gathering of believers, and love for our believers and their safety, we are seeking the best way possible for the resumption of church services. Your church council has developed a plan for resuming worship, keeping both a love for the Word and a love for our neighbor's safety in place. We're not perfect, and so our plan may not be perfect. However, at this point, it's the best we can offer. Always willing to take encouragement and suggestions, always willing to improve on our plan, but just rejoicing that we can work together as a family of believers. Yesterday, our district president sent out a note that spoke about this reopening, and some of that you can read in your letter. But I want to read one part that he said. We also want to act evangelically and respectfully because we realize that our members may have different opinions or comfort levels. As we try to walk through the various governmental and medical concerns, guidelines, and recommendations, we also want to have a balanced spiritual care toward our members, realizing that some will want to gather and worship as soon as possible, while others will still feel hesitant for a while. There also will be a divided opinion on the wisdom of beginning to open up or not to open up at all at this time. We want to encourage everyone to be patient with everybody else. Brothers and sisters, with that being said, we are at this time planning on resuming worship services in 1 week, May 23rd to 24th, which is Memorial Day weekend. I should mention that that could change. As we have seen over the last couple of months, things have changed pretty rapidly at times. So who knows what may come down the pike in the next couple of days, next week. But all things remaining the same, and God willing, we will resume worship services. But that doesn't mean that we can resume the way we have done it in the past at this point. I am, by the way, I should say, I am confident that we will get back to the way that we have worshipped in the past, and things will return to what we consider normal. The, God has brought the Christian church together over 2,000 years. And over the last 2,000 years, the church has endured some pretty incredible struggles, worse than what we're facing. And he's brought the church through each and every one and brought people back to God's heart. So he will bring us back. We have confidence in our God in that. But until that time, we will have to put some certain amount of restrictions in place, again, to safeguard the health of all of our members, of each one of us. So in the letter that you received, there's an outline of some of our guidelines. Early next week, you're going to receive another letter that's going to outline it even further, and also talk about how we can register for worship service, because we need to limit our worship attendance to 50 per service. I know this is weird to think about that, but this is love for each other. And please don't hesitate to sign up for church services thinking, okay, I'll give my spot to another. We are willing to have more church services. At this point, we're staying with the 3, the Saturday night and the 2 Sunday. But if we need more, we're going to add more, and that's okay. So you'll receive a letter next week and some more communication about how to register for worship. We want to make sure that everyone who feels comfortable coming back to worship is able to come back to worship. For this weekend, though, our service will be taped and online again Sunday morning. But we always remember that we go back to our family altar. If there's a blessing that's come out of this time, and there have been many blessings, one of them has been the blessing for families to rebuild their family altar. And I pray that you've been able to do that. And if you're still struggling with that, reach out to me. Would be willing to help you in any way. As God calls us and leads us through this very difficult time, we are so blessed because we have his presence. He reminds us. So one of the last things he said before he left this earth was, surely I'm with you always to the very end of the age. God's presence in our life is enough. It's enough to ensure us that the church is victorious because Christ was already victorious on the cross. God's blessings. Hope you have a great weekend. And we look forward to unveiling more of our plans for next week as you receive more communication from us in the days ahead. God's blessings. And now let's go back to our reading in the book of Acts and follow the journey of the early Christian church and be encouraged in our journey of life. God's blessings on your reading. Hope to see you next time.